Good
Like
morning,
I
Eric.
heard a laugh. Good
Uh,
morning.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Oh man, I'm doing great. I got a new shirt on. It has to do with fishing. I mean, I don't do the big old fishing, but I like the color of the shirt. I think the colors go really, really well. But with that being said, man, let's go ahead and get the day started because I feel so like ready for this.
Well, I wish I was making it up, but especially with all the news going around this morning, maybe that's why the news is going around this morning. But it is Dr. Seuss Day. So you want to tell everybody why that's a hot topic this particular morning?
Technically, no, I don't. But at the same time, I guess people like to go ahead and indulge in this stuff. I'm always acknowledging, some of the stuff that's going around our country, and one of the biggest ones is the cancel culture. If you guys don't know what that is, it's happening, unfortunately. But anyways, I they took down some Dr. Seuss books. The authors of Dr. Seuss decided to go ahead and cancel out some offending titles in their books. So, needless to say, it's funny that today is Dr.
Dr.
Seuss
Seuss
Day.
Day. Well, yeah, and so the publisher did that, but the ironic thing that we were talking about before the show is that those books are going for like $200-$300 on eBay now.
Yeah, man. This is this is the funniest thing ever. I mean, don't get me wrong. I totally understand. People are offended and people are trying. I mean, this started a while back. I mean, I felt like this was like 4 or 5 years ago. Everybody just started getting really offended by everything, and I was like, is it safe to come out now? Because
Do you
man,
remember that? Do you remember that movie on? It was from like years ago. I think it was Tom Cruise, maybe not, where they would go in the future and they would kill you because you were going to kill somebody.
yes.
I feel like we're getting there, like with offensiveness. Like we are like so, man. Different times, different time periods. We can't forget history.
We can't forget history, but we honestly can cancel it out if we really don't want it. And don't get me wrong, I feel like I do the same thing. Let's just be honest. All of us out there are guilty of wanting to go ahead and erase something in the past, and it is the best it's the best form of moving forward. But I guess when it comes down to actual iconic things, it's just crazy. But at the same time, I don't know, Eric. I feel good about myself. I feel good about the people I hang out with. Everybody in Prescott, Arizona seems to be really mellow. Anytime I go to a restaurant or whatever, I don't get canceled out. Oh man. I don't even know what to say about that. But you know what? Let's just go ahead and move on because there's a lot of awesomeness coming. And guess what? We are definitely talking about the Northern Arizona Wranglers. They are our now local football team. Eric, their football team, and they actually are pretty freaking cool. If you guys go
Arena,
to that
right? Arena.
arena football, it's the AFL.
What's the difference?
The arena to the actual football field, we're gonna have to actually be really like on top of this as far as by like the specifics. But what I do know is that the field is smaller. And so that means there's less place to run. If you guys ever been on a really big full NFL football field or even a high school football field, we all know that it actually is a hard thing to run, and it's also easier to run from people. So ultimately, when you shrink that playing field with a bunch of grown men that want to go ahead and eat you for lunch, this is going to be high impact. And it's kind of crazy because the first game is with the Arizona Rattlers. And if everybody knows, that's Arizona's team, Arizona Rattlers. So a little bit of insight on these Northern Arizona Wranglers from what I've gotten from Donna Working is that they are actually players that were striving to make it to the NFL. They still are trying to make it to the NFL. So these are like playing fields that are kind of like the minor leagues, and we've already had a few of these sports teams here. From the Sun Dogs, the Sun Dogs were actually getting players recruited to the NHL, and as well as the Northern Arizona Northern Arizona Suns.
Yep.
They were getting recruited to the NBA. So this is a breeding ground for minor leagues, but people are getting drafted to the major leagues. So this is the cool part about it, is that there is players on this team that are going to be that star player for quite potentially a season in the NFL, man. So
Yeah.
I feel like it's a good time to go ahead and embrace it. Not to mention that we are going to be the hype, man. I say we because Eric, you're going to have to come out and hype us up, man.
Yeah, it'll be good. Well, I remember going to the Rattlers games as a kid. I mean, that was a big deal.
And I think it's fun to acknowledge that there's it's just a smaller playing field. If anybody remembers when playing in the backyard or even at any of the parks here in Prescott, we shrink the field, man, because one, we don't want to run so much, but two, it's just we get to the point. We want to hit you.
Right. It's Arizona in the summer. You don't want to be outside.
Exactly. So, they're going to have eight home games. I think 16 in total, if I'm not mistaken. We'll go ahead and count that up, but maybe not in total. But anyways, our first game is going to be on Sunday, the 16th, with the Arizona Rattlers. Like speaking of,
What month? Guess the month.
May 16th.
Hey, okay, thank you.
So
I
May
would be the guy
16th.
standing out there March 16th being like, hello. Hello.
Yeah, hello. Just a little bit too late for that.
Yeah.
May 16th is going to be the first game. It's going to start at 3 p.m. It's on a Sunday, guys. So we're going to do some tailgating that day. Obviously, we're going to try to go ahead and make a starting of a good summer, man. I mean, this is when we all get back up and running. And I don't know if anybody saw on my personal page, but Ed, I don't know if you saw this, but I'm going to talk about it because it seems like it's a positive forward moving scenario. I mean, these vaccines that are coming in is making people feel a little bit more at ease and a little bit more hey, I don't want to mess. I feel relief.
Yeah.
But anyways, a lot of
it's a good word, relief. Yeah, I have neighbors that have gotten both shots now.
yeah, and a lot of the governors from around the United States are opening up completely, 100%. And I don't think that actually states for our area. I feel like we're almost opened up, besides the fact of the capacities.
Well, they said if you were 50, I think the Arizona governor said yesterday, and maybe only a couple of counties right now, if you're 55 or older, you can now get the shot. So they dropped it from 65 down to 55.
Yes, and one of the cool things is that a lot of people are feeling relief with that. Me personally, I feel like I'm healthy enough. I'm going to wait. So I don't know exactly what that means, if I even will go ahead and get the vaccine, but at the same time, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait patiently.
Let the people in the right order be able to do their thing, which is good.
Yeah, and so far, the first responders were the first ones, and if I'm not mistaken, they were talking a lot more about it with the Yavapai County Health Department's lady. She was stating that if you feel like you're in need and you kind of fall into the criteria of you being out there in front of people, you could get your vaccine right now.
I actually have friends that in Phoenix, they volunteered and they were able to get it early, and they were in their 40s because they went and volunteered. And when the day was over, they're like, we have some left over. Do you want it? And they're like, heck yeah.
Yeah. So there you have it. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of people that are willing to go ahead and take it. They just don't know if they're allowed to. I think they're waiting in line just like everybody else has been. And obviously hearing all the stuff that you hear online, like, oh man, I don't know how to get in, and they won't answer their phone. It takes forever. So anyways, if you want to try, you're more than welcome to. We'll post that information. But once again, I feel like there's a positive feeling going forward, that a lot of things are going to be opening up, as far as the restaurants were all opening up 100%. The bars were opening up 100%. A lot of speculations were saying that sports are going to open up 100%. But these are all in different states, guys. But anyways, the governor actually put out something, I think it was yesterday, talking about the like you were actually asking Eric about the spring season for baseball. So
Yeah.
he actually put out something. I'll go ahead and set that up on the PrescottTimes.com. But he was talking about how hey, let me go ahead and just to get the headline. And he puts out a lot of stuff, man.
He does. That's his job.
Yep, that's his job. Information. Anyways, I'll find that out. But it was he was definitely pumping up the whole spring league. So I feel like a lot of things are coming up. Okay, Chris. Oh, 3 weeks because of the shortage. I think it was also because of that storm.
Right. Well, and Chris,
Good morning,
they had pretty strict guidelines as to how long you could wait for that second shot. So I wonder how that's going to work.
Actually, I read a press release from Yavapai County Health Department that was talking about this shot scenario. They were actually the FDA was going to talk about the Johnson and Johnson flu vaccine or the COVID vaccine or whatever it is, saying that they have one that you only have to take one of, and so they're trying to switch it up where. Maybe this one will be the best one, but it was only 85% proven that it was actually very effective.
Yeah,
so the percentages.
Yeah, the Johnson & Johnson's an old school vaccine. It's like the flu vaccine, and the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccines are that new mRNA. Basically, they're reprogramming your immune system. So very different approaches, and that's why the other two are such a high. 85% still high for a traditional vaccine. I mean, that's really still pretty high.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the positiveness in that, Eric, but 85% is just about as good as the COVID getting into your system and actually being, whatever. I don't know. I'm not going to get into percentages, but let me go ahead and read you what they actually sent out. So I'm not muffling my words like I always do. Muffle. Okay, so the Food and Drug Administration Vaccine Advisory Panel is meeting today to consider whether the one-dose coronavirus vaccine should be authorized by federal regulators. Well, let me make sure that's exact. Yeah, federal regulators. The committee decision is expected later today, and that was February 26th.
Yeah, because they approved it over the weekend.
Okay, so anyways, it looks like, they're trying to go ahead and make it as easy as possible for the communities. But at the same time, who knows, Eric? Who knows? They said there's a lot of stuff coming up.
All right, so switching gears because I think it's a crazy day, right, with lots of controversy. But you posted it about what's going on with the Yavapai County Sheriff. They put out a statement. And Pant and all this other stuff. And I know it's controversial. And I know there's some bad feelings there, but we got to talk about it.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. We obviously saw the video that was posted by Yavapai County Sheriff's Department.
I don't know if people watching have, so give them the background.
Well, the crazy part about it is that the DEA decided to go ahead and roll out a program that was supposed to be effective all over the United States, and they actually pinpointed Yavapai County as one of the top leading opioid locations. And as I read on the DEA, everything's all public information. The DEA website is basically saying, there is a huge percentage of a lot of opioid crisis going on in our location, and it needs to be brought to everybody's attention where everybody is actually getting dealt with and handled with this, whether it be by getting them help or finding the perpetrators that are actually feeding our community with this drug called fentanyl. And this is what is actually the biggest scare points, is that it actually is killing our people. And in the past, I think, was it a month or 2 months or whatever, or the year itself, it killed more. I can't say the actual amount of children, teenagers, but that's, once again, it's one too many. So ultimately, they said that they're doing this program here locally in Prescott, Arizona, or Yavapai County. And then this is how we found out about it. It was because then Yavapai County Sheriff's Department put out a lengthy video. Like they actually put the video together, they wrote it all up, and they actually presented it very well as far as saying, we're doing just fine. I don't know why you need to come in here and
the DEA went as far as saying that Yavapai County is ground zero for this.
I believe it. We have the biggest corridor that comes through Arizona coming from Mexico, man. It is what it is. It's always been like that. I-17 is literally the corridor that brings it into the whole country. I mean, I might be mistaken, but I also might know a little bit of truth about it. I mean, how many times do we get these busts on highway or the I-17? I mean, sorry, you know what I'm talking about. The one all the way goes through the Arizona. And so then we branch out on the 69 and 89, and I tell you what, it's a corridor. It is what it is. I mean, you guys, if you guys sign up to the A-Dot news release, you guys could find out all this bust, man. There's a ton of, and when I say a ton, it's not no pun intended, because there's a ton of drugs getting busted on the I-17. So guys, it is what it is. It's happening. And Yavapai County, if I'm not mistaken, Eric, when I was growing up, heroin was not an issue here. It wasn't like everybody was like, oh, heroin it out. There was methamphetamine, and there was cocaine, and there was marijuana, and obviously shrooms and acid because of all the hippies around here. Just kidding, guys. I knew that's probably, never mind. Anyways, guys, they ended up having these issues back in the days, but then all of a sudden when we started getting the halfway houses, and I'm sorry, halfway house people, but it's true. When you guys started coming into town, and what ended up happening was that they would actually be here on their own abilities to go ahead and get clean. But in the middle of their service of trying to get clean, they were like, I want to leave. I want to get out of this. And so they would actually leave the actual program and then go right back into Prescott Streets, where they actually started finding more ways to go ahead and feed the craving to these actual halfway house people. And it was literally a big deal. The Prescott, you could find all this information. It's not like I'm a hearsay person. You could actually find all this information on all the court hearings that ended up kicking a lot of the halfway houses out of town. And there was people that were getting audited. They ended up having a major audit on a lot of the local businesses here for like a year. So nobody was getting paid at these halfway houses. And as that point happened, they started kicking everybody out, and they started throwing everybody away outwards. So Prescott Valley actually ended up having a huge influx on these halfway houses. So Prescott Valley is going to have to put a restriction on those halfway houses, because basically they're renting out houses and putting several guys in there, and the insurance is paying $5,000 to $10,000 a month for these guys to sit there. So they're just making some major bank. And don't get me wrong, it's a business, but at the same time, it's allowing these guys to come into our community, and instead of finishing the program, they end up staying and end up bringing that drug here. So I've seen it.
Let's be fair. I think we both know a lot of good people that completed the programs that stayed, and they're being productive. I mean, I know a lot of people that completed the program, stayed, and they're business owners now, right? They're out there being productive in the community. But you're right. I mean, I remember it was 10 years ago, like the houses next door to me, all halfway houses, it would just say drug rehab and alcohol rehab stuff. I had rentals, and people would approach me and be like, hey, I'll pay you 4 times the rent of a regular renter so I can stick a halfway house. The Wilder House was a alcohol rehab house for a while before we got it. We found, when we were doing the clean out and renovation, we found bottles of drugs and alcohol in the walls. And so that's the deal, right? So, and then you're right. A lot of those people got turned out to the street when they stopped paying and stuck around. And, that I-17 comes right into town, basically. I mean, it's a beeline right to where the drugs were. So, but I think Yavapai County Sheriff and Pant are really kind of offended that the federal government has stepped in and said, hey, you guys are ground zero. You're not doing a good job. Yeah.
Well, let's just go ahead and face it. We hit the Main Street news media about the teen's death, and they made a big stink about it, and they have been making a stink about it for the past 2 years about this fentanyl, the fentanyl drug. I mean, don't get me wrong. I feel like heroin and fentanyl and all this together is becoming a very big issue here, and nobody's safe. Nobody's safe out there. So it's like anything that you get out the streets, this could be one of the most bad things that could ever happen to you as an individual. So this is why it's a big deal, and I feel the need to get as much help as possible. But from what I read from the DEA website, is it obviously it's going to look all pretty on the page, but deep down inside, there's obviously a lot of back talk about this. So um, I want to definitely look into it. I asked for more info, and we're gonna see if we can go ahead and get Dwight Devlin, PIO officer for Yavapai County Sheriff's Department, on our show so we can talk about it and see exactly what the ideas are. We could actually reach out to the DEA office as well and see if they're willing to talk about it and see why they have a problem, if there's a difference of if there's a problem in communication. I mean, come on, let's just face it. If they have the ability to go ahead and come in here and help us out, then why haven't they done it? Why are they doing it now? It doesn't make no sense to me. But let's see what happens. I think there's a lot of stuff that will come out here shortly. So that's a great subject. I'm glad that you brought it up. I was like,
I don't know if you're looking at the comments. We got a lot going on here, and so we talked about it before that fentanyl is one of those drugs you can have one time and it can kill you. I mean, we've seen those, especially in teens. We saw a bunch of comments here. So look at, Carrie saying that this all started in the 80s. And so it's been going on that long and it's just grew. And I guess it peaked about 10 years ago is kind of what I remember. TC Carpenter says they do a lot of fentanyl OD cleanups and it is super ugly. And then Larry is saying that they should be offended. In his experience working with and for federal agencies, they will come in, piggyback all the good things on our agencies are doing, and then step up and take the bow before anything's accomplished. And so that's concerning that they're not all this, and there may not even be any value there. That's a lot. That's
it's very scary. I ain't gonna lie. My first interaction with this heroin, it was the most weirdest thing. I've never really, I mean, I've been around drugs and all this stuff in my life, and it's not like I've seen anything like this. I've seen people who are like extraordinarily high, where they're just like ha 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 ha. They just keep on laughing and stuff, and then they pass out. But I had a worker. He was actually in rehab, and we had a lot of workers, man. And that was one of the cool things about it, that there was a lot of workers, but they kept on coming and going, coming and going. They were never really like worthy to stick there because they didn't think that their life here was going to be forever. But one guy came in and he like disappeared for a second, came back, and he looked like he was about to die. I mean, it was kind of weird, but he just sat there with a sandwich in one hand and a drink in the other hand, and he just started fading in and out. And I'm looking at him, and I'm like, oh my gosh! And he started turning green. I was like, bro, do you want me to call the popo, the hospital? Because you look like you're gonna die. He's like, no, I'm good.
wow.
And then one of the other rehab girls that were working there at the same time came in, and she goes, oh snap, he's high. I said, high on what? And she goes, heroin. And then my mind went from helping the guy to saying, hey, do you need help? Because it looks like you're bad, to, oh crap, he just did drugs on my property. And so anyways, he had a pretty rude awakening because I didn't hold back by saying how irresponsible that was. But needless to say, his rehab came and talked with me and said that he was missing. So he actually he relapsed, and I don't know exactly what happened, but hopefully, God got his soul and brought him back to reality. But man,
yeah, no, that whole world is tough, and that's why the people that have stayed and built businesses and that are being productive, I mean, that's a huge accomplishment. I don't think they get enough credit.
They don't. They don't. But I remember they actually started placing in laws and stuff saying that if the person wanted to go ahead and actually, vacate the program, that they were obligated to put them on a plane and send them back to their house to another person that they had to be a part of. And obviously, if they were there by judge and saying, "Hey, you need to go to this program," then that was actually a serious case because they were on probation, and that means they had to go ahead and contact their probation officer. Probation officer will either A, put them back into jail, or B, send them to another location, or whatever they needed to do in order for them to make sure that they don't go back on our streets. So there was. Let me tell you one more story. A lot of the rehabbers were working over at the car wash, and I said, so how is all these people getting their drugs? And they said, well, they get them at their AA meetings.
Sure.
So I'll leave that with you guys and let you understand how corrupt the system is. And if you're going to have, a place like that rehab here, you need to take care of those people that are in there, because those are precious souls that have been entrusted into your organization. And if you allow them to go to some public forum, which enables them and allows them to go ahead and purchase more drugs for their liking, you guys better watch them. I mean, that is what it is. They're babysat for $5,000 to $10,000 a month. You better take care of them. Have a good track record of people being, leaving there with a positiveness rather than a negative impact. But anyway, that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, well, and there's, I mean, most of these people from are way out of the area. A lot of them came in from New England, so a lot of people are coming in from New York and Pennsylvania, New Jersey, things like that, and that's where a lot of these people are coming from. So it's definitely not as bad as it was, and it seems like it's much more regulated than it used to be. But they're still here, but they're smarter, and they're keeping a much lower profile.
Yes. Thank you, TC. Look at that. Root, root, giving me a good job, my team. I appreciate that, man. Thank you, Larry. Larry is actually really educated. Did you know that he was law enforcement before?
I did.
And yeah, okay, cool. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that. He might be on the witness program.
Yeah, well, and to his point,
sorry, Larry.
No, to his point, he's right. There's actually a big concern. So he said one of the critical problems with fentanyl is that it's in powder form and easily absorbed through contact of the skin. For a lot of people, and he said a lot of first responders have had to go to the hospital simply by touching it. And there's always a concern that when you go to the grocery store and you touch the shopping cart, if there's fentanyl residue on the cart, you can absorb that into your system just by touching the shopping cart. Or something that there may be fentanyl residue on. And that's why they're, even before COVID, we're really adamant about cleaning up the carts and things like that, because the fentanyl residue was found on a lot of public places.
It's insane, man. It's insane. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and post a lot of this information from the DEA office. We actually got their news release that was out sent to Phoenix, Arizona, because that's where they kind of distinguished that that's where their home base was going to be. But they did single out Yavapai County for sure. So anyways, let me go ahead and just read you an insert from the DEA as they roll out Operation Engage is what they're going to be calling it. For too long, opioids have ravaged the community of Prescott, Cottonwood, and Chino Valley and surrounding communities in Yavapai County. The opioid epidemic will continue to grow and worsen if nothing is done, said Sherry Oz, special agent in charge of DEA in Arizona. Today, I'm happy to announce Operation Engage will bring together many Yavapai County agencies and community groups in our unified fight against opioids and opioid-related deaths. By connecting and unifying our efforts, we will save lives. And that was a quote unquote. So they obviously think that our local, and this is probably the reason why they're offended, because that right there just says, okay, enough is enough. We're going to have to come in and just
do it for you. Right.
Do it for you. So I'm thinking that really would actually hurt somebody's feelings, because it would hurt mine. Like, what? I thought I was doing really good.
Basically says that the local groups are not doing a good job, and that's not fair to put out a release like that.
No, it's not. Especially if they said that we have to work together. They should have probably sat down and talked with them about it before they decided to put a news release out. So this is kind of a
It
You
is.
don't expect anything. He says,
It is.
we used to refer to the DAs, don't expect anything. They're just
Right.
out there pushing their buttons and stuff like that. Anyways, guys, oh
It's
man,
that
this
time
is the
already.
life.
Can you believe it?
Yeah, no, we actually had a really crazy, awesome topic, man. But you know what? There are so many more to go ahead and cover. There's more entertainment. There's actually more stuff that we're posting from the mayors. If you guys haven't heard their what they call it, letter to the people, letter. I don't know what they call them. Letter to mayor. I don't know.
State of the city kind of thing is what they're doing.
I don't know. Every week they go live, but they like to go ahead and
Oh,
address
for
the
Mondays with the
community.
mayors.
Mondays with the mayors, or mayors with the Mondays, or Mondays with the mayors. Anyway, something with the mayors. They're going to be talking to you about what is going on in our community. And if you guys want to stay up to date, you know you got to follow the Prescott Times. That's just how it works.
Good thinking. All right, take us out, my friend.
All right, guys, with that being said, go to theprescotttimes.com to go ahead and see all these amazing stories. You have to see the story about Ryan O'Hara. It's crazy. I didn't even know this life existed, but you guys have to see that there's a thing called iCar or iCar or something like that. iRace. Anyways, it's online and you get to race against all the big wigs and stuff. But anyways, Ryan actually won his race, and he dedicated it to one of these people that actually died. Probably, I think it was from drug overdose. We didn't state it inside of the story, but at the same time, it's hearsay, so I shouldn't probably say that. Gosh darn it. Anyways, go check out those stories. They're all going to be there at the Prescott Times. And once again, if you guys have anything and you want to share it, share those photos, do anything that you want, and send it over here to the Prescott Times at the editor at theprescotttimes.com. With that being said, peace, love, and happiness. Let it not be war. And thank you. And remember, love always wins. Bye.